Hello, writers. I'm so impressed by some of your endings and your flashbacks and your flash forwards. You're really taking some amazing risks as writers and like really trying to push yourself to be a stronger, powerful writer. I want us, before we get into today's lesson, I want us to remind ourselves some of the revision work that we have been doing in our personal narrative unit so far. So we started off like sort of dreaming our story, like thinking about putting ourselves back into that situation and like really thinking about all the things that happened to us, what we were thinking, what we were feeling, who was there, what was the tension. Um, we thought about all the things that we know about storytelling, that there are characters, that there's a plot, that there's some action, there are maybe conflicts. And we really talked about the difference between storytelling and summarizing. Remember, I said summarizing is like when you're on the phone and you're like, oh, yeah, I saw a shark at the beach. That's not a story, that's a summary, right? Really getting inside of our story and like putting ourselves sort of in the middle, looking out at what happened to us, and really telling the story as if it's happening again, right? We're sharing that story in a way that shows other people exactly what we were experiencing. We really thought about what our story is about. What is the meat and bones of our story? What is it that we want writers and readers to know from reading our story? What will they take away from it? We use story structure with where we have rising action leading up to a conflict and then leading down to the resolution. It's a really good way to sort of plan and structure our stories. We include scenes from our past or scenes that are happening now and scenes that happen well into the future, thinking back. And we began and ended our stories really strong. So I'm really proud of all of that work. So what I want us to do today is take a look at our writing we've done so far. And today we're going to use a checklist to sort of revise and edit our work that we've done so far. And we're going to use the checklist that you see here. So I'm going to put our little teaching point that we can revise in our edit our writing by using a checklist. So we've seen these, we saw this earlier, and we've seen these before. Checklists are really important to sort of analyze our writing, to like sit with it and think about what we're doing, what we're maybe starting to doing, and what we're not doing at all. And the reason why it's so important to have a checklist or to have something is because you are the storyteller. You are the person that is telling this story. This is your story. And these are all of the things that good stories always have. So when you use this checklist, you're thinking about, am I including all of these things into my story? So the checklist is several pages long. I'm just going to go through a little bit so you can see. The third page is editing, our spelling and punctuation. This page is all about like the meat of our story. Are we crafting our story in a way that sounds like a story and not a summary? And then the first page is sort of like our overall, what should be included in narrative writing. So if I'm using this checklist and I have my writing in front of me, I'm going to think about going through these parts, knowing that some of them I might be doing and some of them I might need to start working on, and some of them I'm already doing, right? So, for example, if I'm looking at the overall, I already have a story of an important moment, and it read like a story, even though it might be a true account, right? My story with the sea urchin, it sounds like a story. So I could check off the yes here. I definitely did that. Did I write a story that has tension, resolution, realistic characters, and conveyed a lesson or action? Well, I think I'm starting to. I think with my ending that I've been working on, it's kind of showing, but maybe there's a little bit more work I could put there. So I might put a little like a starting to here. So I just want you to see for a second how I'm sort of using this checklist to look at my own writing. So think about for a minute, what did I do? And how was I thinking about my own writing? What did I do? How was I thinking about my own writing? Think about that for a minute. Excellent, guys. So you're noticing that I'm really kind of thinking right now just about the overall story and thinking about what kinds of things I did and what kinds of things I could still maybe work on. Okay, I'm going to jump ahead here to this part of our checklist. Elaboration, remember, means to stretch out and add more details. And craft is really thinking about the writing, like how do we craft our stories. So I'm gonna scroll down here to elaboration really quick, and I'm gonna see if I'm doing these things. I'm gonna look at grade 5 and I'm gonna look at grade 6. I'm gonna see if I'm doing these things, and I'm gonna be really honest with myself and see if I need to do more. Okay, so I'm gonna go right here to this part first. I developed characters, setting, and plot throughout my story, especially the heart of the story. To do this, I used a blend of description, action, dialogue, and thinking. So in the heart of my story, when we're at the hospital, I think I am doing this. I'm describing. I have a little bit of action. Definitely have some dialogue, and this is a very strong thinking moment, because as a mom, you can't always show if you're afraid to your kids. So I think I'm showing a lot of that thinking. So I'm gonna go ahead and click this one as a yes. Let's go. I'm gonna look at grade 6 here. I developed realistic characters and developed the details, action, dialogue, internal thinking that contributed to deeper meaning of the story. Wow. Well, I definitely have realistic characters, right? They sound like people. They say things that people really say. I've developed some details, some action, dialogue. The only internal thinking I really have might be mine. So I might click this off as starting to. And maybe what I'm going to write here in this part is that I want to add, I think I want to add perhaps some internal thinking, what I might think the other characters are thinking. Maybe I could try that. Okay, so I'm going to click a starting to here. So I want you to see how you use this checklist. It's not that you have to use everything on this checklist. Remember, you're not going to be doing everything here. On this page, this first page is really just sort of good overall page for you to see how you're doing. Remember, the second page is really to think about how detailed your writing is, your character descriptions, your plot descriptions, and then the last page is thinking about your spelling, your editing, your punctuation. So as you're using this checklist today, I want you to pick maybe 2 to 3 things that you think you're doing really well, and maybe 2 to 3 things that you perhaps could continue to develop. So looking over this checklist, which will be included in the PowerPoint in the Google Slides for today's lesson, I really want you to spend a little time going from your writing, your story, to the checklist and sort of using it as a back and forth, thinking about what you're doing well already, check off some of those things, and really deeply think about what kinds of things could you actually do to even strengthen your story more. So today when you're working, I'd like you to write two to 3 things that you're going to be working on in a Google document or on paper, and you can upload it to your teacher. And then go into your story and see how you might be able to find those places where you're going to do a little bit more revision or editing today. All right, writers, I wish you good luck on your checklist journey, and can't wait to see what you finish today. All right. Have a good night, everyone. Bye bye.